Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. I'm your co-host for today, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. Ellen, hello there. How are you?
Good,
Good.
Mike.
Hey, last time around we started talking about composting of garden and yard materials, which
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit different than composting of kitchen scraps, if you will.
Right.
And one of the things after we stopped recording is that we had a little bit of a discussion about maybe we should go back and reemphasize this idea of how can you test your compost, especially in regards to whether or not, the seed material that got put in there is
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
has toasted enough so that it's not viable. Well, and what
Right.
you can do is just take a regular old flower pot, okay, put a bunch of that compost in there, and don't put any seeds or plants in it, but just water it and see whether you get any growth out of it. And
Okay.
if you do, is it similar to, is it some renegade tomatoes that had material that you got in there, or is it some cucumbers or this and that, whatever, or is it some other weed seeds? Good way of testing it is like that. It's
Okay,
pretty
good.
simple
That was
also.
good to know.
Pretty
Right.
simple also.
Right.
So what kind of
Mm-hmm.
a physical setup might you use for a garden and yard composting?
Well,
We've tried them all, haven't we, Ellen?
we have. We really have. We've actually had the bins, haven't we?
Yes.
You know, the closed bins. But um, I think what we're using now is the pile of garden and yard material down at Emmaus, and to me, that seems like it's the easiest, and in some ways, it's the most practical.
Hmm.
I,
It's not the
it
prettiest,
seems to be working. No, it's not.
but
Might not be something that you want to have a large pile in your backyard, but if you have a large garden, it's perfect.
yeah, you're right. It is, and what we do is we kind of put that in a pile, and we kind of move the fresh material down the line, if you will, and then take care of things accordingly. But you can also use some kind of an open face bins, and we've tried that where we built bins. We had three bins, and we put the fresh material in bin A, and
Hmm.
then moved it to bin B, and then as it was
Hmm.
cooking, we moved it to bin C and added the fresh material to bin A. Yeah, that got too labor intensive for me.
Right,
And
right.
besides that, in the fall, bin A was overflowing into bin B and C because we had
Hmm.
so much material. We went back and decided to do that. The pile works best for us, but
Hmm.
the decision is kind of based on space and how you want it to look and your own physical abilities and how much time
Hmm.
you have. What
I
are, go ahead,
I
Ellen.
think one thing to add to that too. Remember, it takes a lot of heat for that compost material to decompose. So you want to make sure that you have your pile, if that's what you're going to use, or even if you're going to use a bin or something, in a place where you're going to get a lot of sun, and heat. Because we've actually moved the compost pile at Emmaus like I think 3 times now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we were finding the best spot for it.
Yes, yes. And one thing about heat, uh, one of the other things that we use is we put a black tarp over the kind of finished product, if you will, because that kind
Hmm.
of helps raise that temperature up really good
Hmm.
and kind of helps get rid of those weed seeds that are in there. So, and
Right.
a black tarp or some other black plastic works really well for that.
Hmm.
Take it off
Hmm.
periodically and turn it a little bit and put it back on. Let it cook some more.
Right. Right.
But what are some of the other key points? Okay, to remember through this whole process, Ellen.
Well, be kind of realistic about it. How large of a compost pile are you going to need? Can you really do a compost pile where you are? I think another thing, don't put large pieces of yard material like trees and shrub material into that compost pile because they're really not going to break down very easily. So you need to either cut them up or, do something with them so that they're smaller and that they will decompose more quickly.
You mean I can't dig out a shrub or anything
No,
like that
no,
and
no,
take the roots and throw it in a
no.
compost pile? No,
You can, but it's going to be there for a while.
yes.
And you need to make sure that you turn your pile. You can't just keep putting things on that compost pile and never pay attention to it. It's kind of like your garden. You got to pay attention to it. It needs oxygen and water.
Yeah, because we got living
So,
things in there, don't we?
right.
Living things are doing the composting,
Mhm.
so they
Mhm.
need the oxygen and the water.
Mhm. Mhm. And we talked about the tarp. So you want to maybe cover it with a dark colored tarp. That helps raise the temperatures and speed the decomposition and kill some of those weed seeds and disease organisms that are in there.
Hmm.
So, even though you put that tarp on there, you don't forget that you still have to turn it and you might have to add some moisture sometimes. Mike, what about this carbon and nitrogen mixture?
Well, you go into the literature and it talks a lot about that, and I tried not to
Mm-hmm.
agonize over that. And
Mm-hmm.
what I got is what I got. Okay, it's what it comes
Right.
down to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I have available to me is a lot of the garden's materials, but I also have grass clippings because I don't
Mm-hmm.
use a lawn
You don't.
service,
Mm-hmm.
and so I add that also. So don't be too concerned about it. If you think that it's not composting the way you want to, add a little of the carbon material, which could even be paper, and or some of the green material like grass clippings, and
Okay.
get it cooking a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how long is it going to take then? I mean, we've had our compost pile to Emmaus for quite a while now.
Yeah, you're
What do
right.
you
It's
think?
all depends. But we're kind of
Mm,
casual
we are.
composters.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
is that a good sign or not? Okay,
Well, I
uh,
don't know.
but so we let ours probably cook a little bit longer than everybody else does. But if you really pay attention to it, if you really stress all these things about the turning and the moisture and the heating, et cetera, and stuff like that, you might be able to accomplish it in 6 or 8 weeks. Or
Mm-hmm.
if the temperature is cool, and especially going over winter, there's not much decomposition then. But maybe it's not going to happen until the following year then. But the idea is to kind of keep after it. Be patient. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From a variety of different perspectives. You're not filling up the landfill with a lot of your
Right.
garden scraps, and you're also it's a nice learning process as to how Mother Nature breaks materials down. I mean, she's been doing it longer than you and I
Right.
have, Ellen. All
Yeah.
right, so I hope that kind of helps. Ellen, anything you want to add?
I just say, be patient. It's worth doing, and you don't have to be a scientist to do it.
No. Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and try different things if you don't like how it's
Mm-hmm.
working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Okay.
All
Very good.
right.
Well, thank you for now. Okay. Hey.
All right.
Okay. Bye bye.